The meninges, from ancient Greek mu nu iota gamma she mēningex, membrane, adjectival, meningeal, mēningeal, are the three membranes that envelop the brain and spinal cord. In mammals, the meninges of the dura mater, the arachnoid mater, and the mater. Cerebrospinal fluid is located in the subarachnoid space between the arachnoid mater and the mater. The primary function of the meninges is to protect the central nervous system. Structure: dura mater. The dura mater is a thick, durable membrane closest to the skull and vertebrae. The dura mater, the outermost part, is a loosely arranged fibroelastic layer of cells, characterized by multiple interdigitating cell processes, no extracellular collagen, and significant extracellular spaces. The middle region is a mostly fibrous portion. It consists of two layers, the endosteal layer, which lies closest to the calvaria, and the inner meningeal layer, which lies closer to the brain. It contains larger blood vessels that split into the capillaries in the mater. It is composed of dense fibrous tissue, and its inner surface is covered by flattened cells like those present on the surfaces of the mater and arachnoid mater. The dura mater is a sac that envelops the arachnoid mater and surrounds and supports the large dural sinuses carrying blood from the brain toward the heart. The dura has four areas of infolding. Phalanx cerebri, the largest, sickle-shaped, separates the cerebral hemispheres, starts from the frontal crest of frontal bone and the crista galli running to the internal occipital protuberance. Tentorium cerebelli, the second largest, crescent-shaped, separates the occipital lobes from cerebellum. The phalanx cerebri attaches to it, giving a tent-like appearance. Phalanx cerebelli, vertical infolding, lies inferior to the tentorium cerebelli, separating the cerebellar hemispheres. Diaphragma ocelli, smallest infolding, covers the pituitary gland and sella turcica. Arachnoid mater. The middle element of the meninges is the arachnoid mater, so named because of its spiderweb-like appearance. It cushions the central nervous system. This thin, transparent membrane is composed of fibrous tissue and, like the mater, is covered by flat cells also thought to be impermeable to fluid. The shape of the arachnoid does not follow the convolutions of the surface of the brain and so looks like a loosely fitting sac. In particular, in the region of the brain a large number of fine filaments called arachnoid trabecularly pass from the arachnoid through the subarachnoid space to blend with the tissue of the mater. The arachnoid is composed of an outermost portion with tightly packed cells and no extracellular collagen. That is why it is considered to represent an effective morphological and physiological meningeal barrier between the cerebrospinal fluid and subarachnoid space and the blood circulation in the dura. The arachnoid barrier layer is characterized by a distinct continuous basal lamina on its inner surface toward the innermost collagenous portion of the arachnoid reticular layer. Mater. The mater is a very delicate membrane. It is the meningeal envelope that firmly adheres to the surface of the brain and spinal cord, following all of the brain's contours. It is a very thin membrane composed of fibrous tissue covered on its outer surface by a sheet of flat cells thought to be impermeable to fluid. The mater is pierced by blood vessels to the brain and spinal cord, and its capillaries nourish the brain. Lept meninges. The arachnoid and mater together are sometimes called the lept meninges, literally thin meninges. The morphology of the brain in meningococcal meningitis is said to be covered by exudate on the surface of and within the lept meninges. Because the arachnoid is connected to the by cobweb-like strands, it is structurally continuous with the hence the name arachnoid or lept meninges. They are responsible for the production of beta trace. Space is the subarachnoid space is the space that normally exists between the arachnoid and the pia mater, which is filled with cerebrospinal fluid. The dura mater is attached to the skull, whereas in the spinal cord, the dura mater is separated from the bone by a space called the epidural space, which contain fat and blood vessels. The arachnoid is attached to the dura mater, while the pia mater is attached to the central nervous system tissue. When the dura mater and the arachnoid separate through injury or illness, the space between them is the subdural space. There is a subpial space underneath the pia mater that separates it from the glia limitans. Clinical significance. There are 3 types of hemorrhage involving the meninges. A subarachnoid hemorrhage is acute bleeding under the arachnoid. It may occur spontaneously or as a result of trauma. A subdural hematoma is a hematoma located in a separation of the arachnoid from the dura mater. The small veins that connect the dura mater and the arachnoid are torn, usually during an accident, and blood leaks into this area. An epidural hematoma may arise after an accident or spontaneously. Other medical conditions that affect the meninges include meningitis and meningiomas that arise from the meninges, or from meningeal carcinomatoses that form elsewhere in the body and metastasize to the meninges. In other animals, in fish, there is a single membrane. In amphibians, reptiles and birds, the meninges include a thick outer dura mater and a thick inner secondary mēningex. Mammals retain the dura mater, and the secondary mēningex divides into the arachnoid and pia mater.